Thursday, attacking third, friends and fam. It is so good to be back here with you alongside Darian Jenkins and McCall Zerboni. I'm Lisa Carlin. We are diving into A3 today, so thank you. If you're with us live on YouTube, listening as a pod, watching on Galazzo Network, especially those on YouTube, we see your comments. Yay, good morning, Paul Brown. It is good to have you with us. Hey, Dee, how's it going? It's been a week since I've seen you on A3. What's up?
It's been a week since on A3, but we did hang out in person 2 days ago, so life is good. I'm just trying to stay warm in this snowstorm, ice storm that's coming this way. McCall, are you good over in Texas? Are you in Texas right now?
We're chilling, although Texas is getting a cold front too. We have freeze warnings and all this stuff right now. So it's just that winter week, y'all.
No one is safe from this winter storm that's coming. We're getting hit pretty hard here in the Northeast, McCall. I'm glad it's just like a little bit of ice, hopefully just a little bit of ice, and you guys can handle it in Texas. I know sometimes you guys don't handle it pretty well.
I mean, we can handle it all. We get tornadoes, so.
I think tornadoes are scarier than the snowstorm, but I've also grown up in snowstorms my whole life. Well, everyone out there, stay safe this week, especially this weekend in this crazy winter weather storm that has come. There's also a bit of a storm in the NWSL because the transfers are moving, flying across the league, across the pond as well. And we're going to talk all about the latest NWSL transfers from the last week. We have a special interview today on A3 with the Houston Dash head coach, Fabrice Gautrat, and we are continuing with our season preview. We are talking every single NWSL team throughout this lead up to the start of the season, which is March 13th. Mark your calendars. Shall we, ladies, dive into these transfers? Because boy, oh boy, there's been a lot since the last week, just 1 week ago when we did A3. Some celebratory news to start this segment because Bay FC defender Fabrice Gautrat has announced her pregnancy. So congratulations to Fabrice and her family and her growing family from all of us at A3. We are so excited for you. This is huge. Dee, you played with Fabrice, right?
Yeah, I played in college with Fabrice. Yeah, that whole UCLA class is insane. Everybody's a professional soccer player. Like, it's
totally.
Nicole, did you and Fabrice overlap?
Not at UCLA, but we played together at Gotham Sky Blue, whatever.
Oh yeah, duh. Amazing human, like the heartbeat of a team. I'm so happy for her.
She's
beyond
angelic. Like, she is just such a sweet, shiny soul.
Sunshine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. So happy for Fabrice. So congratulations to her. That does change a little bit of the makeup of Bay FC. We talked about them last week in our episode previewing Bay. And the biggest thing we talked about was that they needed depth. We were concerned with their lack of depth. This doesn't help. But either way, super psyched for Fabrice Gautrat. There's been some other moves. French international midfielder Delphine Cascarino, she leaves San Diego Wave going to London City Lionesses. The Irish international midfielder Denise O'Sullivan, she leaves North Carolina for Liverpool. San Diego Wave signed the midfielder defender Kiki Pickett. She was a free agent. And then big news out of Washington Spirit, per reports, they've signed forward Claudia Martinez, or they're about to sign her, the 18-year-old Paraguayan forward, for a reported $950,000 transfer fee, and she could become the first ever Paraguayan in the NWSL. You may have known her with the national team, 7 goals, 6 apps. Might even be able to see her against the U.S. coming up in just a couple of days. But the biggest ones that we have to talk about, Darian, Delphine Cascarino from San Diego to London City Lionesses. Cascarino pulled the strings for San Diego last year, assist after goal scoring opportunity. How big of a loss is this for the Wave?
This isn't just a huge loss for the Wave. This is a huge loss for the NWSL. Ale San Diego, no more. They're losing one of the best strikers, I'm going to say, in the world, in the NWSL, that we got to see week in, week out. Mm-hmm. That not only, like you said, pulled the strings for their team, led them in assists, was a top goal scorer for them. Teams had to change the way that they defended when Delphine Cascarino is on the field. And to me, this changes a huge identity for them. They already lost Kaylin Sheridan. They're losing their best striker on the pitch as well. And to me, when I look at this, similar to how we were looking at Bay FC, I'm like, what is this team going to look like this year? Mm-hmm. How are you guys going to play? You had this style that was so beautiful to watch, but it was key with 2 players at the top and the bottom of the pitch. I'm very curious on who else they're gonna bring in. I mean, that's a lot of money now that you have to push to other players, bring players in, try to acquire maybe some other young upcoming stars or international players, but you need someone that's going to make teams truly have to respect the magic that they have on the ball.
They did bring in Ludmila McCall, not really a like for like swap by any means, but does that move make a little bit more sense now, knowing that Cascarino is out?
It's a similar attacking force for me. I think they both just shred defenders and put them on their back heels and have that energetic attack that can really lead the offensive ability for their team. Ludmila, the difference though is she can do it all on her own. She can score goals. She can pick up the ball and make something happen and score a goal all on her own. Cascarino was more of an assist maker. And, towards the latter third of the season, Cascarino really slowed down. It almost like you could tell she was unhappy. I think she was frustrated that people weren't getting on the end of her box entries and her crosses, and their attack just was not fruitful enough at the end for the Wave. But the beginning of the season, if y'all could remember, we were like, this is like poetry watching this team attack. It was phenomenal. And they kind of hit a slump in and around June and July and the break. And then when they came back, they really just couldn't put those pieces together. So I think Ludmila having that ability where she can pick up the ball and just change the game in a flash by herself, I think it is an upgrade for San Diego in a way.
They also lost Savannah McCaskill too, which I think the holes at San Diego are starting to look a little bigger and a little brighter, especially with how fun of a team they were to watch at parts last year. So with all of these changes, Darian, is there anyone that you're like, this is the type of player they need to bring? Like, how do they make up for this departure of Cascarino?
I mean, there's no 1-for-1 for Delphine Cascarino. There just isn't. She's probably up there with Carolina Graham Hansen as one of the best 1v1 players in the world to me.
Winger.
Not only that.
Winger.
Yeah. Oh, as a winger. Yeah, for sure. So when you're looking to try to bring in a player, there's not an exact like for like. I actually think you need to bring in 2 players to try to fill that gap of, hey, no, seriously, look at the combinations of when you're a winger like that, her connection. I'm blanking on the outside back who also left.
Lundqvist.
Which
also a massive loss for them that we haven't talked about.
This tells me that San Diego and Jonas Eidevall are going to play an entirely different style of football.
Completely. So that connection that those two have, when you're a winger, being able to play off of your outside back, you have that finesse, the same chemistry, you know how to read off of each other. And 2 elite players, you have to bring another 2 elite players that at least maybe they're not the same 1v1 quality, but bring something else to the game. And looking at the players they've acquired, they still have a Kenzit Dali there holding it down in the middle of the pitch. Maybe they're going to be more of a direct team this year.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they're not going to be a build-out team. Without
Kaylin Sheridan, without these players that want to be on the ball, bringing in Ludmila, a player that loves the ball over the top, wants to run at back lines. I'm with you, D. I think we're going to see San Diego be a bit more direct this year.
Yep, San Diego Hail Mary. Let's go. I'm here for OG San Diego coming back.
For them in year 1.
San Diego.
Yeah. Well, so it's unfortunate because think about Cascarino and Ludmila playing together. That would have been dynamite. Because someone, like I said, just needed to get on the end of Cascarino's crosses. She was always going to win her 1v1 battle and get that window to serve it into the box. She just needed someone to finish it. And they didn't have that like prolific finisher, that fox in the box, that number 9 that would get on the end of everything. Ludmila would have been first to every ball in that box. But, now that they don't have Kaylin Sheridan, the long ball isn't as effective, right? Because when they did play long ball, like the first couple of years at San Diego Wave, it was most of the time coming from Kaylin hitting a 60-yard ball all the way from the back.
Yeah.
And then when they got Lundqvist, someone who was super good on the ball and had a football brain and energy to get forward, then they kind of became more methodical moving forward. Savannah McCaskill was huge in that. Her build-out play was excellent. She'd drop in and just pull the strings. But I'm excited about Kiki Pickett for San Diego. I think if you're going to have that vacancy of Savannah McCaskill, another similar like 6-player, good on the ball, breaks up plays, Kiki Pickett. I'm excited to see her there this season.
Absolutely. A little bit of a bruiser in the midfield. Personally, I'm a little sad. I loved the way San Diego played last year. It was It was so beautiful. And now we might see something a little different. Another place that is going to look very different this year in the NWSL is North Carolina Courage, because after 9 years, 7 trophies she picked up, the Irish international midfielder Denise O'Sullivan has left North Carolina Courage and moved her way over to Liverpool, a team fighting against relegation in the WSL. O'Sullivan's already debuted and already scored for Liverpool, hoping to give them a bit of a lift. But McCall, does this move of Denise O'Sullivan away from North Carolina surprise you?
I think it was time for Soli. I think she's been there since 2017. I think if she wants to hit another caliber in her career, she needed to change up her environment to go challenge herself somewhere else. Maybe she wants to get a little closer to home now. Who knows? But she's been at the Courage for a very long time. And there's been some rumblings about a lot of changes going on there and not that thrivey of an environment. So she's maybe thinking, I want to get out of there. And honestly, if North Carolina is looking to rebuild, the thing you need to do is take out the players who built it. Mm-hmm. And she is one of them because she's been there since 2017. So, and I'm just incredibly anxious to see who they hire as their head coach, because I think that will say it all, because it will say to me, how serious they are about this rebuild. It will tell, what kind of football they want to play, how diligent and committed they were to going after a coach, what's their brand and style that they're going to start playing for next season, because Soli was the focal point. She was the identity of the Courage was O'Sullivan.
Yeah, Soli is such an incredible player and human being. I'm beyond excited for her to go to Liverpool, join the Courage the same year I did with McCall. But you said it right, McCall. I mean, talk about a rebuild year. Nathan Thackeray, who was the interim head coach, who was the goalkeeper coach, is now the head coach with Dallas Trinity.
Welcome to Dallas, Nathan.
Welcome to Dallas, Nathan. But
I'm so happy for him.
What the hell is going on? Who are you hiring? Who are you bringing in? What's this team going to look like? Another team to add into that, Bay FC, San Diego, North Carolina Courage, played such a specific way since 2017.
For almost a decade.
Now, what is that team going to look like?
Courage.
How are you guys going to play? KK's
PSA to the Courage, go spend some money.
Yeah.
Go spend some money, please.
And they have it. They have the ability to do that, right? Without KK, she's no longer there. Denise O'Sullivan, I think they also need a leader. They need to bring someone in. McCall, you said it so well. In order to rebuild, you have to get rid of the people that previously built it. Who are they going to rebuild with on the field? Who is going to be a player that takes everything that this team wants to be, believes they can be, all the way to a postseason, back into the playoffs? It starts now. But it's also, they don't have a head coach yet. So what's happening? A lot of question marks around North Carolina Courage. We will talk about them in our continued lead up to the NWSL season. We are previewing every single team before March 13th when the season starts. We're going to take a quick break here on A3, but we've got a very special interview coming up after the break. Stick around.
You can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. So even if you can't count on accurate expiration dates,
that is a rookie mistake,
or people appreciating your fashion sense,
Jim, the crowd is not on board here.
You can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS, streaming on Paramount Plus.
Glad we wear our good jerseys.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Attacking Third. We are very excited right now to welcome in a very special interview, entering his second year as a head coach in the NWSL and his second year with the Houston Dash, head coach of the Dash, Fabrice Gautrat. Hey coach, welcome back to A3. It's good to have you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Happy New Year, everyone. Hope you guys feel rested as well as we do. So we're excited for a great New Year.
Happy New Year. It's January 22nd, my friend. We are
I haven't talked to you guys. So.
True. Happy new season. New season.
Happy new season. Okay, you just spoiled it for us. You're rested. Way to go. This off season for NWSL is a quick one. McCall and I were talking about that before we started the show today. What did you get into in this off season? How does Fabrice Gautrat relax and unwind?
So there was a piece of relaxing and unwinding, and that was over the Christmas break. Me and my wife went to a great little spot in the Maldives. So phenomenal. Highly recommend. Prior to that, though, did a lot of just reading, soul searching. I wanted to really touch up on, what do leaders say about leading high performing cultures, but more specifically high performing female athletes. And so, read up a lot of stuff on whether it's Emma Hayes, even Anson Dorrance, Mark, like just different leaders in different spaces. So that was very influential. Also reading a bunch of books like Dawn Staley's, Kate, I think it's Kate Hayes. She worked with the England national team with Serena. So just a lot of more of that stuff. I actually, normally in the off season, I get more into the football stuff. I actually got into the more of the psychological stuff. So very, very refreshing and excited to implement some of those ideas this year.
Wait, I love this. I feel like we need a Fabrice book club or something. Like we need your top 3 from this off season that you loved and read.
I would say How to Win, Dr. Kate Hayes. Like that one was, really? She had 4 building blocks, like phenomenal. Her and Serena are great leaders, and picked up a lot of knowledge from there. Sure.
You touched on the psychological side of it. What's the biggest message that you picked up in reading all of these books that you want to implement this year?
Well, first and foremost, I don't think I did a good enough job of being very intentional, not in the football stuff last year, but in the how we build a culture piece. Do we all know who we are individually? And do we all know who we are as a collective? And so do we know our whys? Do we know our individual vision and our collective vision? And so those are all things that may sound subtle, but that actually, in my opinion, what forms a group and what actually helps you win games. Don't get me wrong, need to be clear on how you play, and you need to be crystal clear, good detail. I find those areas are what's actually going to move the needle.
Yeah, it's funny. McCall and I have actually talked about that before too, that when you have a team that has a good culture, everything else doesn't matter. You want to ride or die for your team when you have a good culture. And your first year coaching, full season as a head coach in the NWSL with the Houston Dash, 2025 was a crazy year. But when you look back, what are some of the biggest lessons you learned from last year? Or maybe some of the things that you were like, oh yeah, that was right. Or some of the things that you were thinking into 2026, I know what needs to improve with this team.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it first starts with me. If you want to build a great culture and a connected culture and a gritty culture, it's like, okay, who do you need to become in order for that to be a reality, right? So I think that's the first piece from that standpoint. As we started thinking, okay, if we need to grow in our communication, if we need to grow in our competitiveness, what are we doing daily in our environment to bring those things together? And it was actually simplifying our principles and simplifying our ideas and just making those a habit, right? We call them identity-based activities, right? So like that's something that, it's not about having 100 different exercises. Let's have a few that we're really going to hone in on and just train who we are. So there was a lot I would say, but being very intentional on how you make a group more competitive, how you make a group more cohesive. That's what I've learned most. And especially, I would say, in how we lead our internal leaders and how we continually stay aligned with those players.
Yeah, Fabrice, I think you would agree. Consistency was one of the things that kind of slipped from you guys last season. And then when you look at the table at the end, you're only 7 points shy of the playoffs. So that's really 2 wins, 1 tie. So you go back, you replay all those games that you just missed by a small margin. But again, it was your first season, all these new players coming together. And then so now you're adding more players. I see that you dipped into North Carolina quite a bit, sir. Tar Heels, Duke, et cetera. I see what you're doing there. So do you have experience training those players like during your time in North Carolina or watching them in college, or how well do you know them?
Good question. I actually never trained any of those players. Our recruitment department does a really good job of just highlighting, players we need to bring. If you look at our roster last year, we were the 2nd oldest team in the league. And so we need to bring more youth, especially if you want to be a pressing, counter-pressing team. Like you need that athleticism. But if I know the draft is no longer there, and I'm not trying to add more pressure to these players, but if you look at it, these players, I would say probably 4 first rounders, like just in terms of the quality that they're bringing. And so we're very excited. They're very eager and hungry. And I think to build any sort of competitive team, you need depth. And I felt this year we're a lot deeper than we were last year.
I want to ask about some of these players.
So Leah Clanky, she was on my team for TST. She is such a good kid. I love her so much. And she's a great player. That was a good pickup. I was really excited for you, Fabrice. She's awesome. She's a good kid.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So she's a Houston native. So she actually grew up playing the last 3 years, just dropping in, training. And so she's seen this club evolve quite a bit. And so
she's like invested, passionate. Love that.
She loves her hometown. She loves her family. So yeah, no, we're excited to have her.
It's fun when you get a player that wants to come home and go and play at a club that she grew up watching and cheering for. But you also brought in some top talent, the Mac Herman Trophy winner, Kate Fossey, Linda Olmark, Kat Rader. Give us a nugget on some of these players. Why are they a good fit for the Houston Dash?
So if you look at our highest goal scorer last year was Yasmin Ryan with 4 goals. As you all know, to be a top 4 contender, you need to increase the goal production. Sure, coaches need to be better and increase 100%. But I would say what Kat brings is just her productivity. Like as a 10, as a pocket player, even as a 7 or 11, her ability to pick people out to create chances on goal like speaks for itself. Kate Fossey, I was just looking at even some of her stats. I think her shooting on goal percentage is like close to 50%. So she's always hitting the target consistently. Her ability to press and counter press over 90 minutes is really impressive. And then Linda, when we started getting, like news that we could potentially get her, I'm really excited for her. I think she's a great blend of like a Danny and a Maggie. I think she has the ability on the ball. She also has that explosiveness. Like she's actually very athletic and can cover a lot of ground over long distance. So yeah, we're excited for all 4 of them.
Yeah, we can't wait to see this Houston Dash with the youngins coming in, pressing, this kind of electric energy, because you guys were such a joy. It was very clear what you were trying to build off of last season. And for you to get a second year to be able to do that is very exciting. But I wanted to ask you about the combine that happened. You alluded, no more draft. Now there's this first year NWSL combine where players can get scouted. What was that experience like, especially as your first year experiencing it as well? Like, is that where you found a lot of players? Was it enjoyable? We just kind of want to get inside the minds of what the combine was actually like.
Yeah, really good question. I would say our staff we have really clear roles and responsibilities. So full transparency, one of my roles was not necessarily to go to the combine. So we had our recruitment department that, there was some talent in there. But if you look at the history of this league, how many undrafted players have gone on to do really well, or 4th round picks or 3rd round picks? So I think there's value, obviously the players that we picked, that was prior to combine, or at least those discussions were happening. But I think the combine has tremendous value to actually showcase some of these players who maybe have gone under the radar. So yeah, I personally wasn't there to watch and witness, but I do think it has a lot of value and something to look forward to build on in the future.
Yeah, and your opening game is versus San Diego, who's a big question mark right now. They're still kind of rebuilding and adding things to their roster as well. And then your second game is versus Boston Legacy. What's that like as a head coach going into play an expansion team where you basically have really no information, no film, no idea of how they're going to play? How do you approach a game like that?
Yeah, well, we'll have one game obviously because we'll play them in the second week. But yeah, I think what I've learned from last year is, don't get me wrong, you need to see what the opposition do. You need to have clear ideas and clear game plans. But if you train your team in a way that if the opposition presses with a front 3 or a front 2 or a front 1, or they build with a 3 or 4, a lot of the trends you'll see come up throughout, the year. And so I think if you can train that piece, but then on the flip side is really training who you are consistently. And I think the more we focus on us, the more calm, the more composed, the more confident we will be to actually do well in the game. So yes, it's a question mark. I think we focus on us, and we'll take care of it.
You've put in some work this offseason with picking up players, reading all these books. Like, I'm so excited for what Houston's going to look like. Darian, you mentioned it, like an electric, a high tempo team. What are you looking forward to this year, Coach, in what you want to see from your team in 2026?
Yeah, we've been very intentional in the offseason of one thing I want to keep growing in is how do we give more ownership to the team and to the leaders. And so, we brought in a leadership coach to work with our leaders. And so we're very excited for that. And, players like Jane, Paige, even Avery kind of stepping in, those players really care about this club and they want to see us do it. And I just named those 4. You can talk about the whole team really. But I'm excited to see how our players lead this environment and lead this group. That's what I'm really excited about, outside of the other stuff.
So Fabrice, are you done building your roster, or do you have more that you're going after right now?
It's a great question. Look, we always want to be more competitive, right? So, our recruitment department does such a good job of, identifying talent, who could help us, all those things. So, there's potential.
So somebody's in the works. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
Can't wait for the news.
Stay tuned. Yeah.
Fabrice, I wanted to ask, you've talked a lot about, your work in the off season, building a culture, giving ownership to players. And we know what that can look like on the pitch. What does that look like off the pitch for you? It's a long season. You spend a lot of time traveling. What are those moments like to build that culture when you're not training on the field?
Yeah, it's been very intentional. So, let's say we're talking about the leadership group. So, myself and them, like having touch points weekly, and we just met a few days ago, just like, okay, what do we want these weekly get together? We call them huddles to look like, what's the intentionality between the leadership group, coach and the 4 leaders as of right now. What does that look like? What's that intentionality? And at the end of the day, like, you have to be very intentional. Your culture is not just it's not like we're just showing up. We're like, okay, let's figure out what to do. We're doing actually a lot of work right now to get us ready and prepared for the season.
People are talking about your team, Fabrice. Us here at A3, of course, the fans are excited. You did a great job with the rookies last year and the players you brought in. People are excited about the rookies that you're bringing in this year. With everything that the fans, media, Reddit is talking about, what's one thing we're not talking about that we should be about your team?
Great question. I would say just building on the consistency. I think we want to be a team that isn't. If you look at last year, we started a little slow, and so we want to really hit the ground running. That's why we've been so intentional in the offseason. So I think belief is high. Work rate's going to be high. We'll start next week, like really getting into it. And so, I would say we're really building this consistent identity. I felt like we wanted to be this team. We just didn't consistently show it. So I think that's what we're looking forward to most this next year.
Well, we are looking forward to it as well, watching, cheering for you guys, and talking with you and your players a little bit more as this season goes on. So thank you so much for hanging with us today. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Good seeing you guys.
I'll see you at the Texas Showdown.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fabrice Gautrat, Houston Dash. They kick off their season Saturday, March 15th against the San Diego Wave, and then they play at home. So, McCall, you're like, I'm going to be there.
I'm going to be there. Texas Showdown, baby.
Yeah. It sounds like they're building towards something different than last year. And even in the offseason last year, we talked so much about Houston and the players that they brought in with Yasmeen Ryan and Delaney Sheehan. We were like, this is going to be a big year for them. It feels like he just wants to build on that again, heading into 2026.
Well, we all saw it. They would have like an amazing game. And then like the next week, it'd be like, who is this team and where did all those players go? Like they were just very up and down, but they showed their potential. And so if they can lean into that consistency that he's talking about and consistently perform well, I think that will unlock a lot of things for them.
Well, Houston wasn't a desirable place to go for a long time in the NWSL. It hasn't been for years because you always wondered, what's the culture there? What is it like? I don't know what team's going to show up and who we're going to play this weekend. It could be a fortress. Going and playing in Houston is so tough. And if you built a culture of that team that makes players want to stay, makes it desirable, you know exactly what you're walking into, you know exactly what's expected of you, that team is going to be so difficult to play. And it sounds like Fabrice learned that year one going into it and is doing everything to change it. So I'm excited. Yeah. And especially when you have young players who you got to handpick.
Yes.
We know we need this. We know their work rate. We know what they're going to bring. 4 goals from Yasmeen Ryan. We need to up that. We need to motivate other players. I'm excited. I think he did a lot of soul searching into the Houston Dash and for himself as a first-year head coach going into his sophomore season. It's exciting, guys. Look out for Houston Dash. It's going to be electric. I got to feel it.
Absolutely. And for a team, Darian, that wasn't desirable in the NWSL to have top recruits out of college saying, yes, I want to go to Houston says a lot because I'm pretty sure you've said, Darian, that's one of the best stadiums to play in. But if people still don't want to go there, it doesn't matter what your facilities look like, how beautiful the stadium is. It doesn't matter. You have to have a good culture. You have to have an identity as a team. And it's really refreshing to hear a coach that isn't like, I know everything. I know what I'm doing. It's more like, I'm going to learn. I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to read these books. So refreshing to hear.
So much of what he said wasn't about being on the field. They know they have talent. That working on the pitch, it's going to come. You do your reps, you get into your rhythm of what goes into every single week, match day -3, 4, going into match day -1 to the game day. But outside of that, when you are not gelling, when you aren't committed, when you're not retaining people that want to be there, and especially bringing in some homegrown players, I mean, it's so refreshing. I can't wait. I hope he stays with Houston for a while and they give him the chance to actually implement everything he's talking about. It's just exciting. I feel like it's talking to him was such a good mark of growth, not just for Houston, but also NWSL, looking at how he's approaching this season.
Talking about Houston, guys, we are just getting started. We're going to take a break, and then we're diving into our season preview, and we're talking about Houston. So, Dash fans, stick with us. We'll be back right after this quick break.
This is European soccer's biggest stage.
Written in the stars! What a difference she has made!
The question is, can you handle it? Can you handle it? The crowd here feels electric. Stream every match of the UEFA Women's Champions League on Paramount+.
Welcome back to Attacking Third. NWSL season preview is here. We are talking Houston Dash and Racing Louisville. We're diving into teams that are in the middle of the pack, as we're calling it. Every week leading up to the start of the season, we are going to deep dive into every single team, breaking down the changes that they've made and what we can expect from them in 2026. Last week we did Utah, Bay, and Chicago. So now we're diving into Houston and Louisville, going off of that Fabrice Gautrat interview that we just did. If you haven't listened to it, please go check it out. It is awesome. He is the head coach, and he's returning to Houston after a 10th place finish last year, but a 10-point increase from 2 seasons ago. He started to turn this team around. In this offseason, Houston Dash have made some changes. Most notably, some of the players that have left them include Katie Lynn, the defender who has retired, Abby Smith, Ryan Garris, and Michelle Alozia all say goodbye to the club. But Fabrice Gautrat brings in some huge rookies. Kate Fossey, who is the Mac Herman Trophy winner, Linda Olmark, Leah Klinke, Kat Rader, the Duke prospect that knows how to score goals, plus goalkeeper Hillary Beal has been brought in. They needed to score goals last year, Darian. This was an issue that Fabrice brought up in our conversation with him. They had the second lowest goals scored in 2025 at just 27 goals through 26 games, only behind Bay FC. Have they filled the holes offensively that Houston needs to fill?
No, I think they have. I look at Houston and reflecting on how they played last year, you could see what they were trying to do. They wanted to press, they wanted to trap and funnel and quickly transition, but they didn't have all of the pieces around them. You know, you look at a Delaney Sheehan, McCall, you played with her. She's not a player that's going to run in behind. She likes to be on the ball. She likes to be in the pockets playing off of other people, but she was trying to fill that role. Well, now they've brought in players that are pacey, hungry to press. They're young. They're going to transition quickly. And they have all of the veteran players sitting behind them ready to go. That, to me, is when you get the perfect chemistry, the perfect sort of list of players to come in and pull and play into what type of style you're trying to implement. And to me, looking at the way Houston brought in all of these young rookies who we've seen them play, we know what they're going to bring to this league and to this Houston Dash team, and then getting that finesse part of it with Yasmin Ryan leading this team and doing so well, building off of last season and her time with the national team. I think they filled those holes. In fact, I actually think that they've done even more so than what I expected them to in this offseason. If we're grading teams on how well their offseason has been, especially after talking to Fabrice, now we haven't talked to every single coach, but they've got an A+ from me on what they're trying to do and who they've been able to retain.
A+. High grading.
Jeez.
I'm feeling very optimistic. I don't know what's going on.
I mean,
in the water.
Something's in the water. No, they've made some moves, but also I'm anxious to see with what they already have. So they had several players away on loan last year, so that they're going to get back this year. And, I keep replaying this idea in my mind, like Sam Meza, right? She goes to Seattle, decides she's not ready, sends her away on loan, comes back and has the most rocking season of her career, getting called up to the national team. So with that extra year of players going on loan and coming back to that club, they could be very magical for them. And Dash has 3 of those. Amanda West, who they sent away on loan last year to AFC Toronto. She'll be back this year, hopefully. Rebecca, the Brazilian, went to go play on loan in Spain. She's be coming back, could be awesome for them. Jalissa went on loan to the Canadian League, is coming back. So there's people that they also already own that will be a new reinsertion to this season as well that they didn't utilize last year. So they have some weapons that they haven't been able to exercise last year that we'll see this year, hopefully, after they grew a little bit away on loan.
Even players that they brought in towards the very end of the season. I'm looking at Malia Berkeley, a defender that came in and slotted in right beside Paige Nielsen in that center back role. And we have seen what Berkeley can do. Her play on the ball is so impressive. She can break lines with the ball on the ground. She has a great diagonal, play a ball on the dime. And then defensively, she's one of the top 1v1 defenders in the NWSL. She needs a little bit more time alongside Paige Nielsen. I think that their partnership is going to grow so much in that back line and that development. I'm really excited for, especially now that Houston also lost Katie Lind. That 10-year vet, a drop in leadership has to be there, but Berkeley's a player that can step up and take that on. It's a group that is such a mix of young players, new players that are hungry, but also players that have been around in the NWSL and understand how to compete and also understand the reputation that Houston has. And when you know what it was before, you have a little bit more hunger, a little bit more desire to be part of the change for it as they grow. It's what are the expectations, McCall, for Houston in 2026?
Well, I also think too, like players like Lisa Boateng, like we haven't seen the best of her yet either. She needs to get settled in as well, just like Malia Berkeley does. And again, some of those players that are coming back from loan that may be a little bit more settled and may help the group this year. I think to learn that they're still in the works and there may be a big move coming to the Houston Dash, I'm personally praying for them that it's in the front line. I think if Yaz had a little bit more help to kind of chop and dice the defenders and wreak some havoc and create some things in there, if they could get a prolific goal scorer, that would change. I mean, if they could, and I don't like grouping players together, but like if they could get a Ludmila type, someone who can just have their way on a game and score goals, that would elevate the Dash in so many ways. And, hopefully, he obviously led into that he has a scouting team that went to the Combine and they're also traveling around the world looking for players. So hopefully they go, grab somebody that can really elevate them.
What other improvements, Darian, do you want to see from Houston? I mean, you said it was an A+. Like, is this it? It doesn't matter who they bring in. This is a team that can compete in 2026?
Yeah, they competed in 2025. Yeah. I mean, we also have 2 expansion teams that are going to figure out their identity and what it means to be a new team in the NWSL and also remain consistent. It takes time to build.
So you're saying they won't be in the bottom 2?
Not the bottom 2. I don't think they'll be the bottom 2. I would be shocked if they are. That must mean, to me, everybody else is having an incredible offseason, which we know some clubs are not. Some clubs still don't even have head coaches. Hell. But I think for Houston, it's just going to be that making it a desirable place to retain players, building on that culture that Fabrice talked about, and just having a clear way that we know when we can watch a game for 3 minutes and know, oh, that's Houston. Mm-hmm. If we didn't know who they were, we know what their identity is and clearly what they are trying to do. Because when you have that, you're going to give your players confidence to actually show their talent, see what makes them special, to be professional soccer players in the NWSL. And they didn't have that, McCall, you said, consistently enough last year to see these players thrive. We never got the best out of Yasmin Ryan consistently. We didn't get the best out of Avery Patterson consistently. There's a lot of players that we didn't get to see that special sauce that brings them as leaders in the NWSL and for the Houston Dash enough last year. And it sounds like Fabrice knows that and is very aware and wants to build on that so he can get that out of those players.
When we saw Houston be really strong in their identity, guys, it looked great last year. It was like, this is an unstoppable team. I was drinking the Kool-Aid. I was like, they're going to make a run in playoffs. They're going to do it. But then it would be whether a lapse in a 20-minute span in a game, a 10-minute span, or the next game altogether that I was like, what's happening? No one's on the same page. And the players that had really good games and really good moments, like you look at Avery Patterson, she got a U.S. national team, senior team call up based on her play last year. Imagine if she can do
killed
that.
it.
Imagine if she can do that week in and week out with players around her that are also playing consistently. It's a twofold. The team has to get consistent, but also the players individually have to raise their level every single time to help out their teammates and be better because they do have the talent to get it done.
Yeah. The best way you can explain it is when a Dash player was playing super well in the game, they were on their own. They were alone. So there was individual brilliant performances, a single player at a time. And how many times did we see the Dash have 3, 4, 5 players on the pitch at one time having an excellent game? It didn't happen. So the more they can get that culture, get that unity that Fabrice is working on, where they don't feel so alone in their performances and they're, like I said, elevating each other, I think that will be a big improvement and change for the Dash.
So where do we expect Houston to finish next year in the table? They finished 10th last year. I see an improvement from 2025 to 2026. I'm looking at like a bubble playoff team that finishes 7th, 8th, 9th, above 10th, right? I want them to kind of break through that gap and be a team that is pushing for a playoff spot come the last couple weeks of October. McCall, where do you see Houston finishing?
I think they'll be fighting for a low playoff spot.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Darian?
Yeah, I agree.
Spot?
I'm going to say 8th.
Yeah, that's a playoff spot.
And number 8 is floating in my room with me. Okay. So I'm going to say number 8.
Love it.
You feel it. The optimistic power, the 8 in the room. I love it. Okay, let's talk about Racing Louisville, a team that broke records last year. They finished 7th in the standings, qualifying for their first ever postseason, ultimately falling in the quarterfinals in penalties to the eventual winners, Washington Spirit. Head coach Bev Yanez, she is back. She's the reigning coach of the year in the NWSL, and Racing Louisville made some moves in this offseason. They brought in some younger players. They brought in some players that are going to make a difference. Rachel Hill, the forward, Macy Hodge from Angel City, Quincy McMahon from San Diego Wave, and then a couple of rookies, Maya Lardner out of Georgetown, Macy Blackburn out of Texas Tech, Audrey McKean, the 17-year-old forward who's coming into this one, Morgan Gasick, an Ohio rookie, and Taylor White, a rookie out of West Virginia University. Now, all of these additions don't come without some roster space being opened up. They said goodbye to Janine Sonis, Ari Borges, Katie Lund, the goalkeeper, Jordan Baggett, and Bethany Balser, and then Uchenna Kanu, who was not really part of the roster for a lot of 2025. But they've filled some holes, Darian, after a record-breaking season. What does this tell you about what Bev Yanez has in sight for 2026?
Bev, I'm looking at this. She's bringing in a lot of young players, and I think similar to what we're saying with Houston, they're bringing in players to turn teams around, to be a little bit more electric up top, to bring in energy, because that's sometimes what Louisville was lacking. That's one of those teams that for 75 minutes, they'd be so good. You could see what they were doing. And then it's that veteran leadership that you need in a team and that extra energy to manage and know we need to sit back and lock out. We need to transition to this. Here's what we're doing, and we're adjusting in the middle of the game, or not in the middle of the game, towards the last 15, 20 minutes of a game to get this win and not end in a tie, which has been notoriously Louisville's issue since their inception into the NWSL. So I look at these young players, these scrappy players like a Macy Hodge coming into this team, a Rachel Hill, who is one of those players that is going to run and play any role she can, be the best teammate for this team. it makes a lot of sense, especially with a coach like Bev, who's going to finesse these players into, hey, here's how we play. You already have the heart. You already have the work rate. Let's morph you into this footballer that's for Louisville. I can see the intention, but you also lost a lot of goal scorers in a Janine Sonis, an Aria Borges, a Bethany Balser, although didn't, came in late to games. She is a goal scorer. She knows how to put them away. I still have questions on how are Louisville going to score? Who's the player that you can look to that as McCall, you hinted earlier, at a 9 that's going to come in, you're going to say, oh, I know if I get to the ball to them, they're going to score.
Well, they still have Emma Sears. They still have Emma Sears, who's
as a winger, for sure.
Mm-hmm. She scored a lot of their goals last year. No, I think it's a very honest concern, Darian, and a truthful one, because the players that Bev brought in are DNA-like players that she already has a little bit that are going to get locked into tackles. I was expecting her to make a little bit more technical moves in this offseason, bring in players that really want the ball at their feet, are really going to look to build, but instead with a Rachel Hill, like work ethic through the roof, she's going to run and press. Even Macy Hodge, Quincy McMahon, like these are players that are a little bit like broody in the midfield that want to just tackle and go hard. I think they're going to lean into being like a little bit of the bulldog of the NWSL that we saw a lot last year.
I think they were that last year, though. That's where I'm.
But
I guess I had a little bit. I had a little bit more expectation of a splashier goal scorer into this season, because I think that's what they were missing. Not putting away those chances in games is what punished them. Although they made it into playoffs. Hey, we were all rocking with Louisville that they made it into playoffs. But to be a team that's a championship contending team, you have to score goals. And they were relying on Emma Sears for all of that last season. And I wonder who else is taking that weight? Who else is pushing the team forward? Who's pushing Emma Sears forward more?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's where I still have questions.
Great point. And also they barely made it into the postseason. On the last day, decision days, when they pushed in, they need a little bit more cushion. They have to establish that earlier in the season that they are going to be contenders.
It's clear that they have a style and a personality trait of players that they want, that fit their identity. Very clear with the moves that they made. They're all similar sort of players, hardworking, tenacious, committed to the cause, love to press. But for me, I was looking very similar to what Darian said, for a little bit more finesse on the football side. Because listen, Louisville, they love to fight. They love the challenge. They love the fight. But sometimes in football, you have to fight with your mind. They need someone who can intellectually control the game, settle them down, someone with a little more class, a little more sophistication to the roster, where they're more clinical and consistent, experienced, and a game controller, someone who can grab the game by the horns and control it. They like the chaos. They like to wreak the havoc. That's their style. But now they need to add that layer and that element to their game, where now they can start controlling games and do it with finesse. But no one that they brought in so far is going to be able to do that. They're just all styled players.
I will say Bev is the coach to me that knows how to train and implement that finesse or that technicality or the footballing aspect. Like, Bev was an incredible player on the ball. Incredible. She can bring that into how she coaches and manages her team 100%. I almost want to see her not have to do that work.
Yes.
She's there so that she can manage. She does so much coaching, and I want to see her be able to just manage her squad and see what that looks like. She is still a young coach. It's still a young team, we can say, that's coming into this 2026 season. Maybe she'll get there during the season. I don't know. I have all the faith in Bev. This is a big Bev Yanez stan podcast. We all adore her. But I want Louisville to break through that threshold of, are they a team that works hard and becoming a football team that we know Bev has the mind for.
And Bev wants to be. I mean, she has talked about that, the type of coach that she loves doing are tactics. And that's how she was as a player, is the nitty gritty of like the details and the ball movement and being a ball possession oriented team. And she has done so well with the players that she has. And I think that's why we're all a little shocked at who she's brought in, because she wants to be so technical and she wants to play that type of ball owning football. And she continues to bring in players that allow her to play a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more direct at times. But maybe that's what she's found has worked with the group that she has. And she says, I'm going to lean into it for another year and see what happens, see how I can change some of these players to be technical. And frankly, that's an identity. Like Louisville has an identity and now they're sticking with it. Like I have to give flowers to that sense. Like she's saying, this is how we're playing. Maybe it's not what I want to play or my dream scenario, but this is who I'm getting and I'm going to make it work.
With these player moves, she's saying, I love the project. I love the work, you know?
Granted, I agree. I think these players are technical. Don't get me wrong. All these players have their own quality assets that they're bringing into this Louisville side.
Absolutely.
It's more so of having the run up and the right chemistry that transforms on the pitch, where you're not seeing the tiny coaching moves that Bev is making constantly, but it's the bigger scheme. This is Louisville managing part that I think we're all craving from this Louisville side.
Yes, and sometimes all it takes is one player, like one super world-renowned confidence player that coach and that player have an understanding, and then they can do it pitch side, eye level with the players around them. You know what I'm saying? Just one midfield controller. That's all it takes. And then everyone can build off of that player, and the coach can give the message to that player, and then it bleeds to everyone else.
There's still time. We'll see if Racing Louisville makes any changes, but these are the big ones that we talked about already and that have happened in this winter session. So our expectations, where do we see Louisville finishing at the end of the season? Are they back in playoffs, Darian, at the end of 2026?
Yes, they're back in playoffs. This is a team now that's been in the NWSL for a while. I called them a young team still, and I just think that in a way of we're still knowing what does Louisville look like. What do I expect from Louisville this year? And the top 5 teams, I know what to expect from them this year. So I'm going to say 7-8 spot. I think building off of playoffs, that gives you a lot of momentum. You have a coach that is adored, that you would want to play for. That's where I'm looking.
I say bubble team 7th, 8th, 9th, like competing at the end to get into the postseason. It was so exciting when they did it last year. I was so happy for them. And I think they were also very pleased and proud with their ability to push to get into the postseason. And now they're going to want more. And they have to give that from match 1 all the way through the end of October.
I am concerned about their refinement in the final third. So AKA their goal scoring ability. And because of that concern and that they might struggle scoring goals, they'll make chances. They'll create chances for themselves with their hard work and their Route 1 mentality. Finishing them is a completely different animal. I think that's going to put them fighting for a low playoff spot.
But still in the postseason, we've got high hopes. We're ready for Coach of the Year to come back, Bev Yanez, and take Racing Louisville. It all starts March 13th, 14th, and 15th, opening weekend of NWSL season. We are so ready for it. We're previewing every single team here at A3. But while you wait for NWSL, if you want to quench your thirst, we've got U.S. games coming up this Saturday, and Attacking Third is going to be back to cover them Saturday following the U.S. against Paraguay game. You can watch live reactions, listen to the analysis here on Attacking Third. Follow W. Galazzo on socials to hear all about it. U.S. Paraguay, it's January 24th. U.S. Soccer, they're celebrating the Los Angeles native Kristen Press, recently retired. So you can get a Kristen Press bobblehead. The first 2,000 fans at the game on the 24th are going to get that bobblehead. And let me tell you, these bobbleheads are pretty cool, guys. Head to the game and then jump on Attacking Third YouTube right after to listen to the recap. Stay safe this weekend and all the winter weather, everyone. That does it for us here at A3. Thank you for hanging with us. For Audrey, Trey, Darian, and McCall, I'm Lisa. This was Attacking Third.